Dear listeners, welcome back to another brand new story, so let's dive in. The moment I saw the police officers step into my garage, I knew something was wrong. Their smiles faded as they confirmed my identity and broke the news. My wife had been hospitalized after a serious incident at our home. They asked about my whereabouts for the past 3 hours, and I calmly told them I had been at work all day, except for a quick coffee run. My mechanics, Mike and Pete, could vouch for me. As I arrived at the hospital, a doctor briefed me on Kate's condition: severe injuries, blood transfusions, and an ongoing surgery. Oddly, he smirked as he spoke, leaving me unsettled. I barely had time to process this before the officers intercepted me again, pressing for more answers. We sat down in the hospital cafeteria over coffee, and I recounted how Kate had left her successful law career a month ago to focus on starting a family. Their next question stunned me: "What's your relationship with John Barton?" I had no idea who he was. The officers exchanged glances before walking away without explanation. When I reached home, forensic experts and a detective were combing through the house. The detective questioned me about bloodstains in the downstairs bathroom, and I played ignorant, demanding to know why I was being treated as a suspect. His response chilled me. "We have several leads, but Mrs. Barton has provided some interesting details." Mrs. Barton? I swallowed hard, not knowing what to make of it. Earlier that day, I had made a spur-of-the-moment decision to surprise Kate at home. Our intimacy had faded over the past month, and I wanted to reignite our connection. But as I pulled into the driveway, an unfamiliar car was parked outside. My heart sank. Stepping inside, I was met with unmistakable sounds coming from upstairs. I instinctively pulled out my phone and crept toward the bedroom. Through the slightly ajar door, I saw Kate entangled with a stranger. Rage surged, but I forced myself to think. Storming in blindly would ruin me. Instead, I withdrew silently, formulating a plan. I returned to my garage and retrieved a device, a stun grenade I had salvaged during my time in the Army Reserve. It wasn't lethal but would leave them disoriented and terrified. Back at the house, I set the device in place, ensuring minimal property damage. With a deep breath, I pulled the pin and walked out. The explosion sent shockwaves through the room. When I re-entered, I expected panic. What I saw, however, was far worse. The man, John Barton, was writhing in agony, clutching his groin, while Kate lay on the floor, eyes vacant, mouth moving soundlessly. Blood pooled beneath her. But something was off. The injuries were too extreme for the grenade alone. Then I saw it. A knife. John had attacked her. I reeled back. This wasn't just an affair. This was something darker. As I stood there trying to process the nightmare, I heard sirens outside. I fled, heading back to the garage. Mike and Pete, sensing my distress, readily vouched for my alibi. As the hours passed, I found myself piecing together the puzzle. The media frenzy erupted, turning my once private turmoil into public spectacle. Kate's name was plastered across every channel, and speculation ran wild. I avoided my phone, refusing to engage in the chaos. Days later, the truth unraveled. Kate had been caught in her own twisted game. She had been playing John, using him for one last thrill before settling down. But she underestimated his possessiveness. When she told him it was over, he snapped. The stun grenade saved her life. The police were originally investigating me, but after finding my recorded footage, the narrative shifted. John Barton was arrested for attempted murder. Kate survived but would never speak the same again. Her severed tongue ensured that. But here's where things took an even darker turn. One night, while sorting through Kate's belongings, I stumbled upon an old journal buried deep in the back of our closet. At first, I hesitated, but curiosity won. As I flipped through the pages, my stomach twisted in knots. Entries detailed her affairs, not just with John but with several others over the years. Each one coldly calculated, each one serving a different purpose. Power, validation, revenge. She hadn't just been unfaithful, she had been orchestrating a series of betrayals, feeding off the chaos she created. A shiver ran down my spine. I had mourned the loss of a love that never truly existed. Kate's affection had been an illusion, a performance designed to keep me tethered while she indulged in her secret games. She sent me a letter from the hospital, filled with regret. She lost everything, her career, her dignity, her future with me. And while she begged for another chance, I had already moved on. Sarah Barton, John's ex-wife, reached out, seeking evidence for her divorce case. In her, I found something unexpected: understanding. As we talked, I realized that betrayal doesn't have to end in destruction. Sometimes, it paves the way for something better. Kate lost me forever. And in the end, my revenge turned out to be justice served by fate itself. The weight of Kate's betrayal pressed heavily on me as I sat in the dimly lit garage. The revelations from her journal haunted me, each word solidifying how deep her deception ran. My grief had turned into something else entirely, relief. I had mourned a lie and now I was free. The media frenzy refused to die down. Reporters camped outside my house, hungry for any statement. Kate's fall from grace had become a public spectacle, and as much as I despised the attention, I knew it was her own doing. She had built her life on deceit and now she was paying the price. Then came the unexpected knock at my door. Sarah Barton stood there, her eyes filled with exhaustion yet laced with determination. John had been officially charged and the divorce proceedings had begun. She wanted my help. "I need the footage," she said simply. I hesitated. Handing over the video meant exposing everything, not just John's attack but also my own involvement in the chaos that ensued. But as I looked at Sarah, I realized she deserved the truth. Unlike Kate, she had been blindsided by betrayal. "Come in," I said, stepping aside. We sat in my living room as I played the video. Sarah flinched at the sounds of John's agony, but there was no sympathy in her expression. If anything, there was a flicker of satisfaction. "I want a copy," she said firmly. I nodded. "It's yours." As I transferred the file, she let out a heavy sigh. "You know, I spent years blaming myself for John's affairs. I thought maybe if I had been more exciting, more attentive, he wouldn't have strayed. But now I see it was never about me." I understood that pain all too well. Kate's actions had nothing to do with my worth as a husband. She had made her choices and I had simply been collateral damage. Sarah and I stayed in touch. What started as mutual support slowly evolved into something more. We spent hours talking about the lies, the pain, and the unexpected freedom that came with losing the people we once loved. She wasn't looking for a rebound and neither was I. But there was something comforting about knowing someone else truly understood. Meanwhile, Kate's world crumbled further. With her inability to speak properly, she lost her ability to practice law. Her parents, humiliated by the scandal, cut ties with her. She was alone, trapped in the wreckage of her own making. She sent me another letter, this time more desperate. "Please just talk to me. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need to explain. I need you to understand why." I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. The final blow came when the media shifted its focus to John Barton. Investigations revealed a long history of manipulative behavior, multiple affairs, and, worst of all, financial fraud. His assets were frozen and his reputation was destroyed. Even if he managed to escape a lengthy prison sentence, his life was effectively over. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. One evening, Sarah and I found ourselves sitting on my porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon. She turned to me, a small smile playing on her lips. "You ever think about what's next?" she asked. I considered her words carefully. For the longest time, my life had revolved around Kate. Loving her, forgiving her, then ultimately uncovering her betrayal. Now, for the first time in years, the future was wide open. "I don't know," I admitted. "But for once, I'm not afraid of finding out." Sarah reached for my hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't just moving on. I was finally moving forward. Kate's betrayal had nearly broken me. But in the end, it led me to something far greater than revenge. It led me to a new beginning. But Kate wasn't done yet. A few weeks after Sarah and I had settled into a routine of quiet companionship, I received an envelope with no return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper, Kate's handwriting shaky and uneven. "I have nothing left, Dave. No voice, no career, no family. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know. I was never going to leave you. I was selfish, yes, but I always knew you were my home. Maybe that makes me even worse than you thought." I stared at the letter, emotions warring inside me. Did she really expect me to feel sorry for her? I didn't. A part of me wanted to throw the letter into the fire and forget it ever existed. Another part wanted to write back, to finally unleash everything I had held inside since the day I caught her. But in the end, I did neither. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer, unfinished business I no longer cared to resolve. Kate had played her games. She had lost. And I had won in ways she never imagined. Sarah and I continued to grow closer, our shared wounds knitting together into something that resembled healing. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And for the first time in a long time, I was truly happy. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more stories. We'll catch you in the next video.